Hare Krishna. Welcome to all the devotees in today's session of the Secrets of Bhagavad Gita, chapter number 1. Sorry, chapter number 2, text number 1. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmiritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kada Mahyam Dadati Supadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasri Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Today we are going to discuss a new chapter, chapter 2. And first verse, let us start. Sanjaya Uvacha Tam Tatha Kripaya Vishtam Ashtrupurna Kulekshanam Vishidantamidam Vakyam Uvacha Madhusudanaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Sanjaya said, seeing Arjuna full of compassion, his mind depressed, his eyes full of tears, Madhusudan Krishna spoke the following words. Purport. There are many interesting points in this purport, so we will read line by line. Material compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. The very first line is very uh, difficult to understand for many people how Arjuna's lamentation was on the material platform. So, from one perspective of dharma, Arjuna was correct. However, considering the other aspects of dharma or highest dharma, bhakti dharma, he was wrong. So, how he was wrong, that Srila Prabhupada explains here that Arjuna was having compassion, lamentation, and tears. Generally, these are the signs of saintly people, particularly compassion and having tears for all living beings. And regarding lamentation, Arjuna was not lamenting for his own self, he was lamenting for other living beings. So, all the three are good qualities. So, how these qualities are considered on material platform? So, Srila Prabhupada explained that this compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. And he qualifies the statement by material compassion, material lamentation, and material tears. So, compassion, lamentation, and tears are uh, signs of a saintly person. But when these things are expressed on material platform, then it becomes a sign of ignorant persons. So Arjuna, uh, being bewildered by the internal potency of Lord Shri Krishna, is behaving like an ignorant person, and he is expressing his emotions, his compassion, his lamentation, or everyone, and he is having tears in his eyes. It was not out of fear, but out of lamentation. So that's because of the uh, his emotions were based on material sentiments. So, what is the difference between material sentiments and spiritual sentiments? So, those sentiments which are based on knowledge, they are true sentiments or spiritual sentiments. In fact, uh, spirituality means reality, and material, generally what we call as material in the Vedanta, is unreal. Why it is unreal? Because we tend to think them as eternal for us. So the things are temporary, that we all understand. but we still call it uh, ignorance, or sometimes we call it Maya. So, uh, from one perspective, it is justified to call uh, any material as Maya. Why? Because it is our perception of the unreal thing as real. That is Maya. Because Maya means Maya, that which is not. So our perception that these things are not correct, these things are eternal, that is wrong. So basically, it is our own imposition on material things, that is Maya. The things, or the to be very specific, material things in and of itself are not Maya. But generally, when we discuss uh, in the, in the normal context of spirituality, we call it Maya, because we treat them as something eternal, and that means a real thing or a spiritual thing. Only spiritual things can be real, and they only exist for eternity. Whereas material things, they have beginning and they have end. So this is the one sign of classifying something material and spiritual. The thing which is real, always existing, or in other words, eternal, that is spiritual. Whereas material means which is temporary, which is not eternal, and which may appear to be real uh, as eternal or everlasting, but actually that is not the case. So Arjuna was showing his compassion toward all living beings. He was lamenting for them, and he was uh, literally crying for them. But it was based on ignorance. It was based on ignorance of the uh, identity of soul, and because of he based his emotions on ignorance, his emotions were considered material emotions. So we may wonder then, is it wrong to have material emotions? What's wrong with having material emotions? So the problem with having material emotions is that because they are based on ignorance, they do no good to anyone. So we don't deny that we can't have material emotions, because after all, uh, knowledge gaining is a process. It's an ongoing process. It's not that you get knowledge and immediately you start acting on it. So we may have some material emotions, but we have to always see ourselves that uh, we should not be always on this, always acting on the material platform or having this material emotion. We should uh, strive to be on spiritual platform. So it is, in one side, it is a fault or error to have material emotion, because that is ignorance, and ignorance helps no one. That's also a reality. So it may appear to be helping someone, but it may not help someone in a real sense. For example, you may give some food to uh, some animals, or anybody. So, and it may appear that okay, someone got some help from your generosity. But after all, this will not uh, end the problem for that person or even for yourself, because uh, these are all needs of material body. These are not the needs of spiritual soul. So, if you are providing these material needs so that the person can have his spiritual needs fulfilled, then it makes sense that your giving of material needs is also justified. However, if we simply act on material platform, having emotions only for carrying the bodies, not for the soul, then it's just ignorance. So, in absolute sense, even if you uh, help or don't help, it doesn't really make a huge difference either for yourself or for that particular living being who receives that help. So that is the point. So we should not be interested in temporary things or temporary benefits because we are eternal. When we are looking for eternal happiness, then why are we so miser to share only temporary happiness with someone? So, and there is another disadvantage of having material compassion or material emotions that uh, this may uh, mislead others to believe that these are real our relatives or they are going to be with us forever. So that increases our ignorance. And while it is also reality that we cannot jump over spiritual emotions overnight, but we should try to elevate ourselves on spiritual platform so that our emotions would be in knowledge, not in ignorance, because ignorance actually does not help anyone. It may have some soothing effect for some time, for time being, but it is not a real solution for anyone. So that's the point. That's why Srila Prabhupada uh, uh, treats Arjuna's emotions as material, and he points out the error on Arjun's part, that how such an elevated person is thinking in terms of me and mine. So uh, it is not our uh, purpose to demean Arjuna or his emotions, but to present what is right and what is wrong. So whenever we see such instances in Vedic scriptures or hear such stories from Puranas, we should understand that we have to take lessons from those stories because these are all great personalities, and because of their greatness, their names have been mentioned in scriptures. So, even such great personalities can have sometimes uh, illusion. So, we should be very careful in our normal dealings as well. Otherwise, for uh, insignificant living beings like us, it is very difficult to overcome ignorance. So that's one of the lessons we can get from this Arjuna's lamentation. Continuing, compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. So also a profound statement. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. So whenever we talk about yoga or self-realization or experience yourself or be with yourself, we should understand what does it actually mean. So, to be with yourself or to experience yourself or to meditate is to actually realize who we are, and we should be really caring for ourselves and for others. So, we should not be just interested in maintaining the machine which we all carry and we call it as bodies. So, definitely, these material bodies which we all carry are of great importance for us because these bodies help us in achieving our spiritual goals. So these material bodies need to be maintained properly as required. So it's not that uh, when we talk about spirituality, we neglect the bodily needs. In fact, it's a very important instrument for us to actually practice spirituality in our life. Shariramadyam khalu dharma sadhanam. It is only through material bodies we can express ourselves or practice spirituality. So no way we are encouraged to uh, simply uh, do not care for the body. So we cannot overlook the needs of body, and at the same time we have to understand that the real compassion is for the real beings, spirit souls, not just material bodies. Next, the word Madhusudana is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that had overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. So Srila Prabhupada gives this interesting definition of why Arjuna addressed Lord Shri Krishna as Madhusudana. So these are all great personalities. So when they uh, say something or use some particular words, it is not whimsical. They have or they carry great import in each word. So they choose their words very carefully. They just do not speak like an ordinary people. Generally, those whoever have tongues are very fond of speaking so much. So they don't really think what they speak. However, we see here Arjuna, he particularly addressed Lord Shri Krishna as Madhusudana, and it implies that Lord Shri Krishna, who is a killer of a demon called Madhu, and Arjuna is able to realize by this time that he is in ignorance, um, he is crying, and he is confused, uh, and he is also feeling compassion for all living beings. So it's just a perplexed situation for Arjuna, and he does not know how he could come out of this situation. So that is why later we will see that Arjuna surrenders to Lord Shri Krishna for help, and that's a sign of an intelligent person that whenever he is faced with confusion or ignorance, he first of all he recognizes his own shortcomings, understands that he is not God, he cannot solve everything on his own, and he must need help from someone who is above these shortcomings or who is in a better position than himself. So Arjuna could easily understand because he was a saintly person. So he was not a hypocrite that he put forward his arguments, but he was not attached to his arguments because he could sense that though he was speaking like a knowledgeable person, but internally he was uh, more and more experiencing a confused state. So he was not able to really figure out what actually he should do. So that's why he addresses Lord Shri Krishna as Madhusudana, implying that as you killed the demon Madhu, you please kindly kill my ignorance. That because ignorance is also a sign of uh, demonic quality. Because uh, demons, out of ignorance, they act against the laws and orders of Lord Shri Krishna. So, in other words, ignorance is also a sign of uh, demonic quality. So, whenever we experience ignorance, we should immediately remind ourselves that we should not be acting like demons. So, these words may sound harsh, but that's a reality. That's a cruel reality. If you are not in knowledge, we are acting on demonic principles because uh, demons, as explained in Bhagavad Gita chapter 16, they do not know what to be done and what is not to be done. pravuttim cha nivrittim cha janana viduhu asuraha. So this is the sad state of demons. And what is the cause? Ignorance. So we had to elevate ourselves to the platform of devas or uh, demigods or Vaishnavas who always follow the dictations of Lord Shri Krishna and his pure devotees. In other words, they are always guided by the higher authorities. So they do not behave uh, being driven by ignorance. And there's a significance for addressing Lord Shri Krishna as Madhusudana. Next, no one knows where compassion should be applied. That's the general statement. It's not no one knows. Otherwise, then there is no need of speaking these instructions. So at least someone knows. Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. So that's a very good analogy. When somebody is drowning, and somehow that if someone is successful in saving that person's clothes or some dress, so that is not actually a success because the purpose is defeated. The person died. So, in other words, we may have uh, good doctors and they may have very expertise in operating um on patients. But what if patients died? If their operation do not yield any good result, if patient is suffering more and more, then actually, though analytically we may call it some success that the doctor removed this part or that part and he helped the patient, but actually the outcome of that operation is not good or patient is not getting relief from that operation, then actually it is not a success. So it is just to understand the reality of life. It's not that we are blaming doctors, but the analogy is given to understand that how we may call something a success, but actually it is not a success in true sense. So we should be really aiming for saving people. So obviously, doctors they try their hard to save patients. So there is not we generally do not doubt doctors' intention. Nowadays, the situation is little different. Sometimes uh, we do hear such news that doctors also have malintentions and then actually do not care for patients' well-being. What they are interested in is only profit, and they may successfully show themselves as good doctors, and they may operate on patient and do something here and there. But actually, patient does not get any help. So, in today's scenario, this analogy is even more applicable. Next, a man fallen in the ocean of nescience cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, the gross material body. One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Shudra or one who laments unnecessarily. So, uh, it is not just about uh, saving someone from the ignorance, but actually in our uh, routine life, we see that we try to help someone, but actually our solution is more or less on material platform. So it is not only in absolute terms we say that we should be helping people to come out of ignorance and elevate themselves into spiritual platform. Uh, Basically, to connect with God and talks of spirituality. But in routine life also, we find that whenever we are thinking of helping anyone, most of the time we think in terms of material emotions, or uh, we do not see the outcome of our emotions. So we have to be uh, careful in our daily dealings, how we react towards anyone. For example, for parents, it may be more relevant. Our kids, when they make some mistakes, then how we respond to those mistakes. One one approach is that we just we discipline them for some time, and then again we just forget everything. Or sometimes we just ignore those mistakes. So, what is the difference between ordinary dealings and spiritual dealings? The spiritual dealings part would be that we would really see the future of such mistakes. That how this my kid should not commit this mistake, because this will lead to this particular destination. So somehow that we are not able to connect every single action of our life with spirituality or divinity, because uh, whatever we do in our life has impact on our consciousness. So uh, either we remain on material consciousness or in spiritual consciousness. So if you are not careful enough to act on spiritual consciousness, then even in ordinary dealings, uh, uh, we would be simply having material emotions or material well-being, but uh, we will not get the actual results of our emotions. So to have emotion is not wrong, but we should not base our emotions on ignorance. We should try to connect it with spirituality. How this particular emotion should be directed toward this particular living beings, which are my relatives, so that they can be elevated to Krishna consciousness. So it takes a lot of exercise, mental exercise, and uh, it requires meditation. So it's not that cheap that we just you know uh, think of spirituality only during morning hours, and after that, rest of the day we forget about spirituality. So that's a misunderstanding of spirituality. Okay, next. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and this conduct was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the limitation of the ignorant man, and for this purpose, the Bhagavad Gita was sung by him. This chapter instructs us in self realization by an analytical study of the material body and the spirit soul, as explained by the Supreme Authority, Lord Shri Krishna. This realization is possible when one works without attachment to fleeting results and is situated in the fixed conception of the real self. So basically, we have to elevate ourselves on spiritual consciousness. We should be interested in our own self, not in material bodies. So even if, while looking for material bodies, we have to keep it in our mind that actually this uh, particular material need should be used in elevating our consciousness to Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, uh, simply acting on material platform will not help us in any significant way. So we may uh, declare that we are good parents, or we are good relatives, we are good friends, but after all, such emotions, if they are based on ignorance or driven by ignorance, then they are all uh, useless in true sense. So Lord Shri Krishna, being the supreme authority and being being kind toward his pure devotee Arjuna, he would explain to him this science, how he can perform his duty as a kshatriya and at the same time can always be on spiritual platform. So that's the whole message of Bhagavad Gita. Mam anusmara yudhyacha. So it's not possible to artificially give up our ordinary duties, and there is no need of giving up such duties. If the end result is Krishna, then everything makes sense because everything is spiritual. So uh, whenever it is said that we have to give up all dharma, sarva dharma, so many acharyas they explain that uh, it basically means to give up attachment to our material material gain. So we should not be performing any dharma out of material gain. So once we give up this mentality of enjoying the fruits of our material fruits of our dharma, then automatically we are acting on spiritual platform because there are only two things in the world, material and spiritual. There is no third thing. So that is the lesson, and how transcendentalists uh, see this spirituality in different terms, Brahma, Paramatma, and Bhagwan, that we would see how different acharyas explain it in different way. But actually, when we uh, make harmonization of all the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, we'll see that actually it leads us to Bhakti Yoga. So that's essence. So we'll stop here. If there is any question, we can take, or if there are no questions, then we can stop here. We take the pro.
Yes, Raji. Raji, no question from my side.
Okay. So let us stop here. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यः एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्रीमद् भगवद गीता यज्ञ की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय हरे कृष्ण all join
There
the
is
class
uh,